Hi, everybody. Welcome back. We now welcome Dr. Laura Cuaya from the University of Vienna, Austria, who is going to present her talk on acoustic and behavior makers of play painting in dogs. The floor is yours now, Laura.
Thank you so much for the presentation and for organizing all these things. I'm very happy to be here today with everyone. And now we will talking about dogs, about play, about the sound and a specific sound that the dogs do when they are happy, having fun during the play. So before to starting with this specific sound, I have the feeling that you are a very fun people here because you are in this conference. So for that, first I want to start sharing these two papers that I think you can find interesting. The first one is about the playful fun in dogs. So when you study the social play, is this question then why is the function and why is happening, why is maintaining the play in many species. And in this paper, Mark Bekoff is super good explaining that one of the things is play is fun, and also when you are studying the play you can have fun. So I recommend totally this paper, and also they are mainly focused on the behavior. So this spray ball that you can see everywhere in the parks. And the other one is about in this day examining how is the dog human play. And it turns out that not all humans are so good playing with the dogs. The dogs always they are good playing in general. So we can as humans learn how to play with our dogs in a more engaging form for the dogs. For example, with more touching, more teasing and things like that. And I want to start in the story with these two papers because we are studying one part of the playful behavior in this sound, but I know that the social play is a more complex phenomenon. And if we can only study most of the times as a whole thing, but hopefully we are close to that. So this is like a general introduction, and now let's go with this sound. So the dog laughter, it was first described by Patricia Simonet. She, and she said is a vocalization characterized by a forceful, breathy exhalation produced exclusively during play. So it's interesting because in this, and I think one of the fundamental things about this behavior is that we want to be sure then this play pan is different to another kind of panting. For example, the individuals tend to, especially dogs, to use the pant to thermoregulation. And here, one of the first focus on the description of this vocalization is how we can distinguish that this is special and related to the play, are not just a vocalization that is related with another things. I think we have a lot of progress on this, but still we cannot separate totally that the play is dynamic. During the play, you are teasing and moving and this. So it could be also at some point related with the tiredness. And indeed, also there is a evolutionary hypothesis that maybe this specific kind of laughter evolved from when you are praying and you have this breathing forceful that and then this maybe evolve to be a communicative signal. So Patricia said that this is a communicative signal during the play, and then also she demonstrated that its playback can reduce the stress in shelter dogs. So she reproduced this play pant in a stressful situation because he was in this shelter with the dogs, and they demonstrate more calm behaviors. But now it's time to hear about this vocalization. So this is the first example and was the original dog laughter play pant. So, and then she compared with the pant because of tightness during the rest. And is this? Then, as you can hear, and also you can remember, is like more rhythm. So it's yeah, and the other one is so. And then just 2 years ago, we have the first publication when Bolche and colleagues confirms that this spray pan is something that exists because if you can believe it's true, then after Patricia Simonet, that it was not some, it was in this millennial, then she was describing this vocalization of a dog that is present everywhere. It was only as until more or less 25 years, 24. And then just 2 years, this team of researchers described for the first time this exists. All this time it was like, oh yes, but it was not a paper that it was confirming. So they confirmed. And again, it was first the focus on describing acoustically. And they say, yes, it's different from the rest band. And also, as you can see, the description is very similar, is again characterized by irregular bursts of amplitude and is domain specific, meaning that is consistently co-occurring with play. And interesting also they describe that is an individual variation between how is exactly the laughter. I can imagine that it could be similar in the humans and we have different styles, and also because of the size of the dogs, it could have some influence. And here there are some examples on how is a playpen in three different individuals and how they are the same individuals during the resting pan. So they are different, and but the playpen is this special one and is super similar to the other one. So in this project, we want to compare again the acoustic features of spray pan versus exercise pan and quantify the occurrence of the mouth stretch with spray pan. That is this, because we think that the dogs can co-occur this vocalization with a face expression. And for that, we have video recordings of 18 dogs and humans. Then we ask them to first play with their dogs for at least 3 minutes. It could be more depending of the specific dynamics and the preference of the people and their dogs. And then we ask to try some exercise to try to having this pan because of tiredness. And as you can imagine, it was super fun because they are dogs playing with their humans, and we say this is very very nice. Thank you. But interesting, we found that all the dogs do this specific vocalization, the play pan, but maybe because it was winter, not all the dogs having the pan because of the exercise. And so we have only 16 in the second condition, and all the dogs do the play pan. We find a lot of play panting in the dogs, but also it was a huge variation between individuals, and also because it was differences in the duration of the session. And here it is an example of play. And also it was very nice because as you can see, both of them, they were having fun. And this is an example of rest. And confirming the previous research, we also find that the play and exercise panties are acoustically different. So here you can see that the peak of, in all the graphs, the play pan is represented in yellow, and the resting is in gray. And also to normalize more or less between all our participants, we select only 10 vocalizations per participant than the one that we say this is very nice, this is clear, is less noise. And in this way, we have the same number of samples per individual. And here you can see that the peak frequency is very different. In the play pan is around 1,500. And also we found differences in other short term characteristics acoustically. So they are having, for example, a higher peak frequency, the spectral centroid and the duration, and also they are bigger. So here, most of them, they are bigger, but in this specifically, it was one that is in the opposite direction, but we can separate both vocalizations very well. Also, using two of the principal component analysis, we found using 34 characteristics, we achieve a bigger classification of between the two vocalization, the play pant and the exercise pant. So with all this evidence, we suggest that yes, they are acoustically different, the play pant and the exercise pants. Then we pass to the visual expression of this, and for that we use dog facts. And from this is specifically the action units, when each of the discrete facial movements is the result of an independent muscle contraction that produce observable changes in the faces. So there is a lot of research about it, and there are some specific expressions that have been related to specific emotional expressions. And of these expression, when this the mouth stretch is one is related to the happiness. So we decided to looking for this in our data. Here is only an example and how the manual, that by the way is available and is open in the web, and you can also be certified for the dog facts team. And they are giving you all these very, very specific instruction on how to decide if is this action unit or not. And if you follow all these, also they provide you examples. And it was not very good, but in general it's better. So it was better now. How to say that this is mouth stretch and differentiate from another one that is less. For example, here is the minimum criteria and all the information. And what is usually then is that we don't think or expect that this behavior is present only during the play or during the play pant. We more are looking for difference in the frequency of the duration. It could be also of present in different contexts. For example, here they are compared one specific action unit in a negative and positive context, and you can have also many other expressions related to your emotion. So here is they are examples, but still, as they are the more normal or more common, we only focus on the mouth stretch. And we found what we did here is that we have this clear, in our opinion, play pant, and we selecting 4 seconds to before and to after to check if it's happening this or not behavior. And it was difficult, but we choose as a control just another part of the play. That it could be some also this play pant, but not so clear. So it's not a perfect condition, but I think it was a more fair. And we found that it was this behavior more occurrence during the play pant associated to this than during other parts of the play. But as I'll tell you, it's difficult to find a specific occurrence of both behaviors, the vocalization and the facial expression, because of the dynamic nature of the social praise. For example, we only selecting the frames when the dog it was present and code if it was or not this behavior. But they are many things because they are putting, and then sometimes they are a person, sometimes they are talking. And also the prey pan is a noisy vocalization. They are not like the peers singing. And also the frequency of the prey pan can vary because of the video quality. They are closer or farther, the play style, and also I think the personality of each of the dogs. But in general, we think that we confirm that the play pan occurs specifically during social play and displays a distinctive acoustic profile, the first part. And also we found that the mouth stretch, a facial expression linked to happiness, occurs frequently with play pan. And this is the all I can say. And it was an enchanting project because it was so much fun with two of my dogs, for example, Kun Kun and Odin, and all the participants. But also, as you can see, this is just centering on how describe this vocalization. And now in a new project, we are for the next year, maybe I can say the results. We are doing more things, a recording of your young dogs now focusing. We will having an online survey, also an fMRI study to study more about the perception of this. And this is super fast just because I want to having an show and invite you to participate to our citizen science study that is in progress right now when we are looking for young dogs to do a remote experiment when we only ask for you as a citizen scientist do the recollection of the data. We have a video call before, and all materials are available in English, German, and Spanish. So please consider to join to this experiment and invite another young dogs. We focus on the young dogs because maybe they are more reacting to this vocalization, but we don't know. We think this can improve our understanding of the evolution of the laughter and social communication across species and interspecies. There is in this paper, and also is wonderful, all the description of different species and they are laughing and with different kind of groups. But also we think that promoting awareness of dogs as emotional beings and can laugh, not only enhance their welfare, but also foster richer interspecies communication, as an example with the whales. So we want to describe and tell to the people that they can see the dogs as social beings and they are communicating. And if we pay attention, we can understand them better. And this is all. So thank you so much and muchas gracias in Spanish. And don't forget about our advertising.
Thank you for the very interesting talk, Laura. So it's time for question. We only have some questions from our audience. The first question from Pastor. When playing with dogs in the summer, how can you tell which pants are due to playing and which are due to overheating?
Mhm. Yeah, it is for long we did during the winter indeed, but yes, also we are thinking that it's difficult to separate both of the things. So one of the our ideas for the future is maybe to compare the first part of the session with the last part, or maybe also we can say we are using only the first vocalizations when it's less likely than it's because of the heat and not because of this. But also we are confident that when it's because of the weather, it's more rhythm. So you must and indeed, we can have a minimal separation. And if you, and also when the dogs start to pant because of the weather, they tend to be more stay and they don't want to play anymore. So they say, stay, stay, I need to recover. So behaviorally, we can have one cue than this. But yes, we want to maybe control better this in the next time. For example, having different groups one during the with a cold environment and the other with the more cold. But it's very important. Thank you.
Thanks. We have a question from David. Can you tell us a bit more about playing uh, the dog like panting noise to calm dogs in shelters? It is being used widely.
If I understand well, it's more about the perception of this, how the
Mhm.
dogs can perceive the sound.
Mm,
The only cue that we have about that is one of the first studies when Patricia Simonet played this to stress dogs, and they noticed that the dogs, when they are hearing these sounds, they were more calm in comparison. But most
mm,
of the studies in this field, they are doing with the stressful dogs when it's easier to go from a negative state to a neutral at
mm,
least. But now we are trying this citizen science study when we want to play, we play the sound to the dogs. We have three seasons, so we have playing a positive, we say positive, the dog laughter, an
mm,
exercise panting, and a negative one. And so we are now trying to figure out if the dogs can perceive and acting in some way. It could be wonderful having a
Mm,
playful or an actor dog and go with all our stimuli. But as is
mm,
not possible, we are trying with the recordings, and for them we are recruiting young dogs. We feel that maybe they are more playful, but we will see. So for the next year, we will have a better answer.
yeah. I think maybe one last question from Buster. Does the happy face mean that tongues are just sticking out their open mouth, and the positive anticipation is when they lick their noses, and fear is with their tongues hanging out of their mouths?
He is changing sometimes. So sometimes this leaking it was related to the positive anticipation, but also in the past it was related with a negative state. So I think this is changing, and but I think it's not changing this stretching because of more related to the happiness. But for now, I think it's a solid thing to look. But also you can, and hopefully in this citizen science, we will have more behaviors than
Mm,
complementary. For example, I looking for some play balls or something like
mm,
that. And also the tail can, we don't study enough the tail, but I think in the future we will know more about that and we can put more and more behaviors and not only the
mm.
face. I think with this and other studies, we will have a more complete dog and we will see.
Thank you. If you have more questions, you can send Laura uh, to Laura Discord channel. Thank you again, Laura. We,
Thank you
we
so
move to
much.
the